Welcome to Good Vibes. This is Fitness and Food Passions with ITAMAR FERRER, who's our special guest, is going to be joining us, and hope that you're all doing well. This is the Instagram people here even, and on here is the YouTube crew. I hope you're all well. We're going to be joined by a special guest called ITAMAR FERRER, and she's going to introduce herself. Guapa,
Hello.
welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very good, thank you.
Please introduce yourself. Tell people about who you are.
Okay, so name is ITAMAR FERRER. I know this lady interviewed me for a really long time, and how can I define myself? Professionally, I'm a design director at a service design agency, so design is my passion. Personally, I would call myself a food and fitness enthusiast. That's probably how I would define myself.
I like this. We're gonna get into this. That's why we're laughing, because we'll get into it as the story unfolds. So this has been years in the making, because you're even busier than I am. But this is great because you've been living your passions for years, and that's why I've been wanting to get you on for ages. But life and work got in the way. But we're going to speak about your passions, which include fitness, and which I have allergies to. Itamar and I used to live together. My passion for sleep and rest, and my aversion to food, but we and exercise. But her cooking and her food brings life to any palate. So that's what she's going to talk about. And we just wanted to add some positivity to the timelines and to you guys. So basically, any good news you want to share, because that's what Good Vibes platform is about. Any good news, big or small?
I think just doing this interview, really. It's happy to be having this conversation, and I think every day is about looking at the positive, right? So my positive news today is I woke up really early, the sun was shining, I did a great workout in the park. Thankfully, we can be outside, and I just have to be grateful for the little things and be positive about the things that we can do for ourselves, and just try and see how we all move through this kind of weird and tricky times.
Yes. Very challenging times. Everyone's going through a lot of different things, but that's the small thing. We can look outside our windows. It's not much, but we can see trees.
Yeah.
We go out and stuff and make the best of it, and that's it as well. And connect. We have good technology to connect with people. So first of all, what type of fitness do you do?
So currently I do CrossFit, but I've done lots of different things. But I would say the two main things I do sort of on a daily basis is CrossFit to keep myself fit. And then when I can and I travel, I like to do lots of trekking and walking around in odd places. And with a bit of elevation, I do some cycling. I do lots of stuff. I mean, for me, it's all about keep moving your body. It's about just trying to keep a positive and a healthy sort of attitude lifestyle, I would call it, actually. Play volleyball in school, so from my teen years. So for me, it's just something that it's just part of what I do every day, really.
So for those who don't know, what is CrossFit, including me?
So CrossFit is basically a functional fitness workout. So it's designed to basically help your body move better. So in any way, shape, or form, it can, as an outsider, it can be seen as quite extreme because there's lots of Olympic movements. It's a combination basically of running, high intensity stuff, and a combination of strength-based exercise. So weightlifting, and sort of trying to do things like pull up and body weight movements that involve strength, and then lots of things around like cycling and rowing and jumping up and down, which is all the high intensity stuff. So it's a combination of pretty much like three types of exercise, or 3 categories of exercises. And the way that it works is that there's a guideline for the workout that you do on the day, and normally that can be set out worldwide if you follow like the CrossFit website. I go to a box here, so I get my workout from the coaches. And now that we can't go to the gym, I do them on my own, or I do them online when they have them. So it's kind of, it's like functional fitness, all the weightlifting stuff. Yes, it's based on Olympic weightlifting, but it's about strengthening your body, basically, to be able to live longer and live healthier. That's kind of the whole essence around it.
And how did you get into this? Because there's people hearing, when you say Olympic, my mind just went, what? And then, but because I know you, for those who don't, is it an entry level thing? Or is it did you gradually go into that because was it a group activity, or now it's a solo thing? How did you get into that? And
so no, it's not. It's at all levels. Anyone can do it, independently of what level of fitness you have. Even if it's your first day doing exercise ever, you can join. Up to like Olympic, up to like professional athletes. You know, you've got Olympic weightlifters. What's really nice about this type of I suppose the approach is what I would call it, is that everything is scalable. So all the movements, if you can't do X version, there'll be another version, and there'll be another version, and another version, and another version. And what I really like about it is that it has a real sense of community. So everyone does exactly the same movement, independently of what level you have. So and that's where the scaled versions come in. So and you can use it for any goal. It could be about losing weight. It could be about just improving your health because you want to keep yourself healthy. It could be about being a better athlete if performance is what you want to do. So it really is about kind of focusing on whatever level, whatever sort of goal that you have. Lots of people use it as recovery from physiotherapy. If you've gone through problems with your health, there's lots of things in there that can help you do that, because it also has lots of like additional things around it. You have mobility elements of it, you have gymnastics elements of it, you have stretching elements of it. So it really is for everyone. How I got into it, I was wondering, what is this thing that everyone calls for? And it did look quite extreme, and I was a little bit like scared of it, but I think that's the rep that it has. But I met a couple of people that did it, and they invited me to join a class. And I did a class. So normally you do a class that is in a group setting. And again, everyone does exactly the same thing. What I really like about it as well is that men and women do exactly the same thing. So there's no difference between if you're young, if you're old, if you're a man, if you're a woman. Everyone can do it. So I really like that about it.
That sounds cool. Now, what's it called? Because we've known each other for years, and as I said at the beginning, it's not that I can't do exercise. I did it when I was younger, and I did all kinds of county athletics and all kinds of stuff. And then I finished high school and realized I didn't have to do it. So didn't. But it's you talking about it that is inspirational anyway, because it's like, I just didn't get how you used to do yoga and stretching, and you had the volleyball before we met, but how you fitted it in. And because you already had, we were both working. We're very laid back people, for those who are going to be watching on replay. We're very laid back people. We love dancing. Itamar has got killer moves and owns the floor. It's just freedom. So that was the exercise I like doing with you, when we'd go with our friends and dancing. And we kind of did it earlier this year. but your passions speak volumes. And how do you maintain that with a busy career?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. I think, that definitely being busy with work does have an effect on it. I think independently of what it is, exercise, yoga, dancing, painting, I think the priority for me has always been to make time for myself in the day, in my work day, and be able to disconnect from the pressures of work responsibilities and the stresses around work, and making time for myself, to give myself that time to reflect, to relax, to recharge, to re-energize. The way I do it is by doing exercise. So for me, I have to fit it in, because I feel like if I don't, I'm doing a disservice to myself by not taking care of myself. So, for some people it might be about making time in the day to cook something nice that they like to eat, or to be with their children, or whatever it is. I think what's really important is just to make the time to take care of, to have that moment of self-care. And for me, that translates into going out for a run, or joining a CrossFit class, or trying to do one push-up more than I did yesterday, or whatever it is, whatever goal I have for myself on that day. I think it's actually just kind of getting into that mindset that you're going to do it, kind of convince yourself that you're going to do it. So when the time comes, you actually have to do it, because you've kind of made a commitment to yourself. And that's how kind of I talk about it. So, if I know I'm going to have a really busy day, and I know the only time I'm going to have to do it is in the morning, and not everyone is a morning person, I get that. But if the only time I'm going to have to do it is in the morning, then I go to bed thinking I'm going to wake up at this time, because I'm making a commitment to myself, my self-care, that I'm going to do. And sometimes it doesn't happen. And that's okay. I just try to not get stressed about it, beat up myself about it. It's like, okay, it didn't happen today. There's stuff I couldn't control, but I'm going to make a commitment to try and do it tomorrow. And I think that's just the way that I make the time. I just make sure I try and make the time for myself. And for me, that's about exercise. And it's become such a part of my lifestyle. I think it's a lifestyle. I don't see it as like, oh, one more thing I need to do. It's just part of what I do every day. Same as cooking, same as eating, same as talking to my friends. It's just one of the things I do.
I like that. I like what you said just now about a commitment to myself, which is very true, because it's a good path. It puts you in a good path for the rest of the day and everything else, that kind of knock-on effect. And it is true. I was going to ask you as well. We talk about so many things when we can, and I just realized I had a flashback. So myself, but basically this links to a question I said. I realized, my husband is always, he used to go gym hard and always try to get me involved and come along, and I was like, no, it's okay. And I love that. I liked running with music and things like that. And when I was avoiding the exercise, I liked the running, I like the music, and that would be a motivator. But actually, when fast forward maybe 2 years ago, a local friend said, come and do kettle trainer at her home in the garden at her pace. And I liked that. And I realized what I learned is because it was with people and the group motivation to do that. There's a kind of, as you say, we're all wired differently. You do what you feel for yourself. But I realized I can run solo. Well, I say jog slowly at a pace, depending on the music, a couple of laps around the park, and then come back. But it's true, early in the morning, it's such a difference, because it's true, you are energized. So you and husband have always been right. but the motivation to do it is not there until you get there, and it's great. The kettlebell thing, I was like thinking, nah, it's okay. I value my life. It's not my portion. Doing it together, only half an hour, and it was something to look forward to.
Yeah.
So when this social distancing is over, we're going to connect and try this. Moving on, cooking, your other passion.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the thing is, there's so many things that we're reading online, we're socially conditioned and told to do. And there's a lot of contradictory advice out there. So I wanted to focus on your favorite recipes and because you are very, very healthy. And the eye candy, let me tell you people, on Itamar's plate, it sounds simple, her ingredients. She'd say things. She told me about couscous. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And there's all kinds of things. You could talk about the kind of ingredients I was totally ignorant about. My Nigerian heritage couldn't process why it was raw, why it wasn't cooked in a soup, why there wasn't other stuff with it. But it's so good. So tell us about your favorite dishes, what you enjoy cooking, and how it helps you.
Oh, well, it depends, I think. Favorite dishes, right. Favorite dishes for feeding other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really enjoy going back and doing some of my mom's Venezuelan recipes, which I miss a lot. And that's kind of food for spoiling people, food for sharing things with family, food for comfort food to make you feel good. And that's grains, that's plantain, that's rice, that's not super helpful, not like mega healthy, but there are ways that you can adapt it so you can still. It's for myself. Oh, I love everything. Simple things I love on a Sunday morning, just poached eggs on toast with spinach and mushrooms, but then adding lots of flavor to that by using herbs, basil or oregano or anything like that. I've gotten massively into smoothies, and that's become like a staple on a Sunday morning. Pancakes.
Lush.
Love. Oat pancakes with you can do them with eggs, you can do linseed if you're vegan, and then just adding lots of flavors. Well, lately I've been using lots of powders like beetroot powder to try and get my veggies in, which makes my pancakes pink.
I didn't know this existed. What?
So they look very pretty and very girly.
Powdered.
Yeah, powder.
Wow.
So powder, beetroot powder, in the same way that you get spirulina powders, algae powders. It's like one of the superfoods, right? One of those big words out there.
Okay.
You can get all of that stuff in powders. So,
wow.
So it's just a concentrated. It's dehydrated. It's powdered up. It's 100% natural, and it's a concentrated kind of boost. Beetroot is really good before exercise. It actually, improves blood circulation, helps with energy, improves oxygenation. So your brain feels good, your body feels good. So sometimes I use a teaspoon of that in my pancakes before I go out for a run. But yeah, I don't know, lots of different things. I like to experiment with stuff. I like to learn. Food is like, one of my favorite subjects in school was chemistry. And food is like chemistry. It's lots of experimentation and understanding what goes with what and what makes things fizzle or rise or not rise or cook quicker, taste different or emulsify and all of that sort of chemistry approach to it. So I think for me, food is about having fun, experimenting. Sometimes it turns out great and you learn, and sometimes it turns out pretty nasty and you also learn.
Speaking of which, your spiritual niece, basically, with all this the COVID-19 and the challenging situations where the world is in at the moment, with that and other viruses, social distancing, I found myself baking because the recipes I was taught were by eye and not by scale and weights. And it still isn't. But she loves experimenting. And when we meet, there's another friend of mine from Breton. They're baking heads. They're amazing. And you as a foodie, and there's Maisie Moo, who's also an amazing foodie. I love seeing her doing it. But when you're talking about catastrophe, I turned my back for a second. She knows the ingredients. I turned around and I didn't know the ingredients she put in. It came out beautifully. She put the butter in the tin, did it everything right. She knows exactly what she wants to do. It came out looking like a patisserie muffin tray. Itamar, we bit into it. Oh my, it was like tasting the salt sea of all oceans in the world. And we're so looking forward to it. I'll send you the picture. I might add it to yours after this. We'll bit into it. And the disappointment. And we don't add salt for years. And like everything that we omitted for the last 8 years of salt was in that one bite. And she just went for it. And I just, no. And never turn your back on a toddler when it's all laid out, no matter, it's going to be interesting. But at the same time, trying to cut out the sugar. So I wanted to ask you, have you had to replace, because there's a lot of bad ingredients. You know, for example, we only found out late that there's sugar in grapes, sugar in apples, salt in already things. So you take that out, it's still in there. Have you ever had to replace in your food chemistry or, you know, for healthier eating?
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of my experimentation comes in. So I tend to swap ingredients out of probably more traditional recipes that have lots of sugar, have lots of butter, just to make them slightly healthier. I think not because, I mean, obviously everything in excess and everything to the extremes is not great. It's not healthy in a way to have that type of altitude. So loads of sugar isn't good. Some sugar is okay. But because I suppose trying to understand what type of food would allow me to do exercise in the way that I wanted to do, allow me to feel the way that I like to feel. I think a lot of it has to be about knowing what is right for you. But yes, you can do lots of swabbing to make things a bit healthier. Also, if you want to, you know, consume less dairy or consume less sugar or consume, you know, veganize some things. There's lots of stuff. So, for example, sugar, depending on anything that you're using that has butter, that hasn't have to be whipped up to make it fluffy with sugar. You can pretty much replace that for smashed bananas or applesauce. Mm-hmm. It turns out pretty much exactly the same. I would swap things like oil for any refined oils for things like nut butters or healthier oils. Coconut oil, although it has some bit of saturated fat, is actually not bad for you. Replace things like eggs. So eggs are either used as a binding agent or as a rising agent. So if they're a binding agent, then you can replace things like flaxseed for eggs. Mm-hmm. If you want to avoid eating eggs because of allergies or because you're trying to avoid eggs out of your diet or whatever that is. So yeah, there's lots of replacements. Same with flours. So anything that is sort of whole grain, whole foods is much better, obviously, than refined. Has more nutrients in it because anything refined, it has pretty much the nutrients stripped out of it. Mm-hmm. So any whole food kind of flours are good. Oat flour is really good. You can pretty much replace it 1-to-1 with every recipe. Might need to add a little bit more of liquid. Spelt flour, you know, whole wheat flour, rye flour, buckwheat flour. There's so many now. Coconut flour.
Wow.
And lots of rice flour. Lots of those. So probably using flours that are not wheat based, particularly if you are gluten intolerant. Then there's lots of options as well. So again, and it depends what you want to, what you use that replacement for. So if it's about sort of minimizing your calorie intake, so you're dieting and you want to, that helps. Also, it doesn't allow sugar to spike, so it maintains your energy longer. Doesn't give you those cravings that you have when you eat lots of sugar, so suddenly you feel like you crap.
Yes.
You know, what else? Things like icings on cakes you can replace for yogurt, Greek yogurt, and honey or maple syrup or agave. Yeah, there's loads of replace. I think because I kind of like learning about experimenting. I've always had this habit of preparing my own food. Initially, because from a long time ago, years ago, when I lived in Venezuela, I couldn't afford to buy lunch every day at work, so I would take something from home.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I wanted to eat something that I wanted to eat. So I tried to make it myself, and I get bored really easily if I eat the same thing all the time, which leads to me trying new flavors and doing, you know, but you'll have people that don't mind doing or eating everything every day. So the same thing every day. So there you go. I think it depends what works for you, what you like, what flavors you like, how your body feels, I think is really important. So lots of testing with myself. Like, I'm going to eat this and I'm going to do this workout. How do I feel? Oh, that gave me energy. That felt good. So then I know that that's the thing that my body can tolerate. And things like that. But I think you just have to figure out what works for you. It takes a while. I think it takes a bit of patience. And I think it takes experimenting, but I think, you know, go with the process. Trust the process.
Exactly. And this is really important. I want to really thank you for taking time out, because the things that you've said are really key, not just to, even if you start within this kind of social distancing time and you don't have time, and you have said, to recap, make time for what's important. And you said habit as well, which is, it's very hard when, for number one, you're raised on a particular diet. Even if you try and change it, it could have withdrawal symptoms. But at the same time, if I read so much on the comment online and on media and TV and stuff, and that kind of lethargy and frustration that people are getting within social media. And it's not just about probably wanting to go out and race to the pub when it's open. It's about they're used to the not taught home economics and how to cook from scratch, but like we were. And even if you were, it's cooked with love and it takes time, which people don't have. And when I didn't cook native, my favorite dish, which was goosey soup and pounded yam, like Eon, I could feel the nourishment. I could feel my spirit I hadn't had it in a week. So I had to force myself to wait until it was quiet, go in early, get the stuff and buy frozen stuff for weeks. So I didn't have to expose myself to people not wearing masks in the African shop and in the other shops. But then making time to experiment. And I'm going to tag Itamar in this interview. Please, she's got eye candy. Actually, is your Insta page open or is it private?
It's private, but
it's
connect
private.
And we'll connect.
Connect, and then I'm going to get some pictures from Itamar top for inspiration. Some of the dishes that she's made is amazing. And this is just being something positive to share with everyone in terms of what Itamar's saying, in terms of making time, having that work-life balance, but mainly spirit. It's all connected. And just the last word from Itamar in terms of, anything you want to say about your being committed to self, food, chemistry, and fitness, because what you didn't talk about, young madam, was the group activity. You did amazing feats and activities and stuff like that. Yeah, any last bit of inspiration as where you were, how you got here, you know, any last words?
I think just be patient with yourself and take baby steps. I think it's a gradual process. Independently of like what your goal is, don't stress yourself out about it. Just make sure you're enjoying that process, that you are making time for yourself. And, you know, if you kind of fall off the wagon or go slightly sideways, just don't. Doesn't matter. You'll get back on track eventually. I think the worst thing is to try and, like, you know, do everything at the same time. I think it takes time, but I think, you know, it's a lifestyle change is what I believe it is. And I think, you know, it's yeah, stay committed, stay healthy, and stay positive.
Thank you. And what's it called? Peace to everybody. And we'll share this. And thanks so much, Itamar, for your time.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.